The Pacific sky southeast of Okinawa became a stage for a tense encounter, where the boundaries between routine patrol and potential conflict blurred in the vast expanse above the sea. On what began as a standard surveillance mission, a Japanese Self-Defense Forces aircraft suddenly spots the imposing silhouette of the Chinese aircraft carrier Liaoning cutting through the waves below, its deck bristling with activity. Without warning, a Chinese J-15 fighter jet roars off the carrier's deck, slicing through the clouds and closing the distance with alarming speed, its intentions unclear, but its message unmistakable. Inside the Japanese cockpit, the crew's training kicks in. Eyes dart between radar screens and the horizon, tracking the J-15's aggressive approach, every movement analyzed for threat or signal. This is no routine flyby. Every maneuver is a message, every second a calculation. The pilots know that even the smallest misstep could have consequences far beyond this patch of sky. The J-15's presence is a clear show of China's expanding military reach, a demonstration meant not just for the Japanese, but for any nation watching these contested waters. The two aircraft draw dangerously close, the tension in the cockpits palpable. Every pilot is acutely aware that they are not just representing themselves, but their entire nation. One wrong move could trigger an international crisis, a chain reaction that no one in the sky, or on the ground, wants to see unfold. The Japanese pilot's mission is clear: observe, report, and above all, avoid escalation. Their restraint is as critical as their vigilance. But the J-15's proximity is a deliberate challenge, shifting the balance and testing the limits of international protocol in real time. Both sides know the stakes. Decades of rivalry, unresolved disputes, and the weight of history hang in the air, making every second fraught with meaning. The blue sky, usually a symbol of peace and freedom, now feels more like a battleground, echoing with the silent language of power and deterrence. This December 6th encounter was more than a close call. It was a flashpoint in Asia's escalating military friction, a moment that would soon make headlines and raise alarms across the globe. The world below remained blissfully unaware, daily life continuing as usual. But the consequences of this high-altitude standoff would soon ripple far beyond the Pacific. The silent signals exchanged in the sky would soon erupt into a very public and perilous dispute, reminding the world just how fragile peace can be when the sky is painted with tension. The escalation wasn't marked by gunfire, nor by the roar of engines or the flash of missiles streaking through the sky. Instead, it arrived as a silent, invisible threat, an electronic signal that could change the course of history in an instant. The Chinese J-15 fighter jet locked its targeting radar onto the Japanese aircraft, a move that is universally recognized as the final step before launching a missile. For the Japanese pilot, the cockpit suddenly erupted with alarms and flashing lights, a stark warning that they were now in the crosshairs. This tense encounter unfolded in international airspace, just off the coast of the strategically vital Miyako Strait, a narrow passage near Okinawa that serves as a gateway between the East China Sea and the Pacific Ocean. The Chinese aircraft carrier Liaoning was conducting military drills, while Japan's response was routine, standard surveillance flights to monitor the activity. But the radar lock instantly transformed what should have been a routine patrol into a high-stakes, life-or-death standoff between two powerful militaries. The Japanese pilot had only seconds to react, deploying countermeasures, breaking away from the threat, and pushing the aircraft to its absolute limits in a desperate bid to survive. This was no accident or misunderstanding, it was a calculated, provocative signal from China, a message as clear as if it had been spoken. I can shoot you down at any moment. Such an act is universally seen as a grave form of aggression, shattering the unwritten rules that have long governed military encounters in contested airspace. The incident sent shockwaves through the halls of power in Tokyo, Beijing, and Washington, raising urgent questions about the risk of escalation. The silent electronic pulse was more than a technical maneuver. It was a message that could not, and would not, be ignored by any nation involved. It forced all sides to confront the very real possibility that a single miscalculation could ignite open conflict in the Pacific, with consequences that would ripple far beyond the region. In that moment, the stakes in the Pacific were raised to a new and dangerous level, and the world was left holding its breath. Beijing told a different story. Chinese officials claimed their actions were justified, blaming Japanese jets for dangerous close-in reconnaissance. State media released a radio clip, allegedly warning the Japanese to keep their distance. China insisted its drills were legal and that it acted with restraint, accusing Japan of provocation. The radar lock, they argued, was a necessary warning to protect their exercise. China's message: its military is professional and defensive, and the blame lies with Japan. Tokyo's account was the opposite. Japan's defense minister denied any provocation, calling the SDF's monitoring a standard necessary response. He insisted Japanese pilots kept a safe distance and that it was the Chinese J-15 that closed in and locked radar. Japan lodged a formal protest, calling the act dangerous and unprofessional. Tokyo criticized China's advance notice as inadequate, lacking key details and safety warnings. The incident underscored the importance of the US-Japan alliance, with officials welcoming American support. At the same time, Japan called for urgent dialogue and crisis management with China, their stance firm against aggression, but open to de-escalation. Washington responded quickly, publicly criticizing China for the first time in such a confrontation. The State Department reaffirmed its commitment to Japan, sending a clear message to Beijing. The U.S. ambassador in Tokyo echoed this support, reassuring Japanese officials. Yet, President Trump remained silent, reportedly seeking to avoid escalation ahead of a planned visit to Beijing. This revealed a complex balancing act, projecting strength for allies, but keeping economic ties with China in mind. The strong U.S. stance raised the cost of future aggression for Beijing, but the president's silence left some uncertainty about America's ultimate approach. Allies and rivals alike watched closely for signs of U.S. resolve. The alliance's credibility and the region's stability hung in the balance. The incident alarmed Taiwan, just over 100 kilometers from Japan. President Lai Ching-te called China's drills very inappropriate, urging restraint and warning that war has no winners. For Taiwan, the standoff was a dangerous precedent. Beijing's military intimidation is a daily reality. The radar lock incident capped months of rising tensions, including Japanese warnings that a Chinese attack on Taiwan could trigger a military response. Beijing reacted with harsh rhetoric and travel advisories, escalating the war of words. Meanwhile, Japan scrambled jets to monitor Chinese and Russian bombers, and Chinese Coast Guard vessels patrolled disputed waters. This pattern of pressure, air, sea, and diplomatic, showed Beijing's determination to assert its claims. The region was on high alert. The radar lock incident pushed China-Japan relations to a breaking point, sending shockwaves through diplomatic and military circles across the region. In a matter of moments, what began as a routine patrol escalated into a dangerous standoff, with both sides on edge and the world holding its breath. It's a stark reminder of how quickly rivalry can become crisis. Behind closed doors, diplomats and military leaders scrambled to de-escalate, aware that a single misstep could trigger a wider conflict. The risk of miscalculation and catastrophic conflict has never been higher. With advanced weaponry and rapid response forces on both sides, the margin for error is razor thin. One path forward is clear: robust diplomacy, direct hotlines, and transparent protocols to prevent future incidents. Building trust and communication is essential to avoid another close call. Leaders in Tokyo and Washington have called for urgent dialogue with Beijing, emphasizing the need for calm and cooperation. Their goal is to reduce tensions and establish new mechanisms for crisis management. But hardliners could push all sides into a cycle of escalation, with more aggressive patrols and greater risk. Each show of force increases the chance of misunderstanding, making the situation even more volatile. The global economy is at stake. A conflict would have devastating consequences far beyond Asia. Trade, investment, and millions of livelihoods could be disrupted in an instant. Peace requires wisdom, restraint, and real communication. Only through dialogue and mutual understanding can lasting stability be achieved in this tense region. The pilots who faced off in the sky carried this burden. Now, it's up to their leaders to keep the peace. The responsibility to prevent tragedy rests on the shoulders of those in power. The world is watching, hoping this tense encounter remains a warning, not a prelude to war. The choices made today will shape the future for generations to come.